Hi guys, Chester Westerford here. It's been a while since I made a video like this, but I thought it was about time. A while back I started doing, the top 5 stories from each Doctor's era. Well, now it's finally time to move on to the top 5 stories of Matt Smith's era. So yeah, here we go. Number 5, The Pandorica Opens slash The Big Bang. Coming up first in the lineup is Series 5's brilliant finale. Yeah, none of the other Doctor Who finales have managed to achieve as many twists and turns as this one did, and did it so enjoyably. I mean, okay, honestly, I feel like this is one of those where if you think too deeply into the actual plot, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, that's obvious, but the fact is, it's covered by well scripted, well shot, well acted, well directed, just well made, not quite, but almost masterpiece of Doctor Who finales. From Matt Smith's brilliant speech to all the monsters coming together to bruise his ego and finally lock him away once and for all. Oh, and there's so many other great moments like the Cyberhead, and then in part 2, all the timey-wimey shenanigans. This was just a lot of fun. It was also new and fresh, too. Like, it's very different from, RTD's finales that came before. And those were good, but, it's just nice to have something different. And, yeah, it's just a bonkers and zany episode, and I think Moffat tried to copy it later on with the Wedding of River Song and stuff, but yeah, I don't think it can be copied, nor should it be. It was a unique, brilliant end to a unique, brilliant series. Next on the list, after Series 5's finale, is Series 5's opener, The 11th Hour. This is not only one of the best Matt Smith stories, but also I think one of the best Doctor introduction episodes ever. The introduction of a new Doctor is always a tricky thing. You have to tell a good story and get the audience to like the new actors so as to not lose any of the more casual fans. I think this one did it very well. We get introduced to the new Doctor in a very clever way, first through the eyes of young Amelia Bond, then into adult Amy later on, and that in itself was what a unique idea of how to introduce a new companion. I mean, yeah, Moffat kind of stole the idea from his previous episode, The Girl in the Fireplace, but she wasn't a companion, and this is a little different, and I think the idea is only improved upon here. To this day, Series 5 is probably my favorite season of the show's revival so far, although I really say it's a pretty close tie with Series 7. Series 9 was good too. I don't know what's my favorite, but this is a really good one. And part of the reason I enjoy it so much is the fairy tale tone that's set up in this episode. Yeah, this whole era was brilliant. Number 3, The Doctor's Wife. As with every episode, this one has those who love it and those who maybe feel it could have been better. While I wouldn't say it's a perfect episode, I am, obviously since it's on this list, in the camp that loved it. Overall, it's a really well-written, great-looking episode in a season that for me doesn't always live up to the quality of the rest of the Moffat era. Written by the already successful author Neil Gaiman, this episode was described beforehand as a love letter to the show, Gaiman himself being a huge fan. And it really kind of is. From the Mind Cube, to the classic roundels, to the TARDIS getting a human form, and the Doctor being able to talk to her. It's pure fan service, while also I think being a pretty decent story. Those two things don't always mix well, but I think it works here. The aunt and uncle are creepy in an almost subtle way, and the whole idea of this gaseous being stitching them together like Frankenstein to keep them alive is low-key terrifying and very bizarre in a way that would only work in a show like this, written by an author like Neil Gaiman. The TARDIS interior scenes are also quite well done, and also I think kind of creepy. And of course, the whole idea of having the TARDIS sentience confirmed and the Doctor actually being able to talk to her was just kind of a fan dream come true. It was exciting while it lasted, and sad when it ended. Overall, an excellent story that will always be one of my favorites. Number 2, The Time of Angels / Flesh and Stone. It is really impressive that these are the first episodes Matt Smith and Karen Gillan shot for Series 5. Even doing it out of order, they really had their characters down so well. I have to admit, I wasn't sure about the Weeping Angels returning when it was first announced. I was excited to discover more about the mystery of River Song, but I felt that the Angels were really good one off villains who probably should remain so. Stephen Moffat proved me wrong, though, by taking them and doing something very different. I know some people don't like the additions to the lore we got in the Smith era, and I do agree they were used a bit too much later on, but I think they worked really well here. As a rule, I really wasn't creeped out by the Angels in Blink as other fans were. I think part of the reason was that initially in that story they don't actually kill you, so it wasn't really. I mean, sure, being sent back in time would be scary and sad, but not life threateningly scary. Here, though, the Angels are ruthless killers, and that makes them a lot more scary for me, in a way that just caught me by surprise. I'm still not terrified cowering behind the sofa or anything, but they're much more creepy. And speaking of being caught by surprise, how about that crack in time? The fact we got so much about the arc so early in the series was really went to show just how different this era was going to be from its predecessor. Also, that cliffhanger has got to be one of the best cliffhangers of all time. Yeah, another good one. And number one, top Matt Smith story on the list, Day of the Doctor. What else could go at the top? Maybe it was just the excitement of seeing it in the cinema with a large group of people, mixed in just with the general excitement around the 50th anniversary, but I still think this is a near perfect episode. I say near perfect because partially I don't believe there's any such thing as a perfect episode, but honestly, this is just a great time to be a Doctor Who fan. I miss those days. I hope those days come back again with RTD2. This was so big, even some people I knew who didn't watch Doctor Who tuned in for the 50th just to see what the hype was about. As for the episode itself, well, admittedly for the anniversary of a 50-year-old show, the plot was somewhat more new series than classic with it revolving around the Time War, but I think that's a good thing. If it had been buried in the show's past, it would have alienated viewers who had only watched the new series, but by using that event as a bridging point between the classic and new run, well, that just allowed for all kinds of fans to celebrate the show without needing to necessarily know about anything that came before. Another well-written, well-paced, excellent episode. The Zygons were back. David Tennant was back. John Hurt was in it. He was a great addition to the lore. Oh, and then there's that Tom Baker cameo. Yeah, a real 10 out of 10 for me. So that's my list. What's your list? What do you think are the top 5 Matt Smith episodes of all time? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.